An icon of the game, Major League Soccer's Taylor Twellman is joining us today. We could talk soccer all day long. We're going to jump straight in and talk about the most important sport to every middle-aged white man out there, golf. Taylor, what are you doing these days?
What's going on, boys?
Oh,
Much,
man.
Dude.
You know,
Did I see you playing a pro-am recently?
I did, Gordo. I've been I qualified for that tour last year, so I've done like 5-6 events.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. So
good
cool
for you, dude.
It's been a blast, dude. It's a fucking it's a riot though, because I'm probably the only one there that has to work for a living. So it's been kind of a shit show. Like everybody's like, dude, why are you rushing off? Like, we got to play tomorrow. And I'm like, I've got to work.
Yeah. Didn't make 75 million in my career. Sorry, guys.
I didn't make 300 million pitching fourth in the rotation for the Braves, dude. Like, fuck.
You chose the wrong sport, brother.
No, I did. We all did, dude. What the fuck? We all did. Look at us, fucking grinding.
Yeah. I was gonna go NBA, but 5'11" white dude wasn't top pick in the draft.
Thing is, they'd all rather drink with us than fucking hang out with them. That's
stories. I think our stories are probably a little better, to be honest.
No doubt. No doubt.
What are you playing in like charity softball and baseball events too?
No. So this is like so I am no longer I'm no longer an amateur, so I can't play in the four ball. So I qualified in the four ball. I qualified for the mid-am in Massachusetts, and I can't do those anymore, which is so stupid because none of us are really pros.
Right.
But once you take money for one tournament, you've got to sit out for a minimum of 2 years. So
no way. So what tour is it? Is it the Corn Ferry or something?
No. So this is a celebrity tour where they pick, it's 90 guys, and I was dead serious when I meant I'm the only one that has to work for a living. So Gordo, there's only 15 to 20 golf spots, and then the 70 spots are based on your Q rating. Obviously, I'm not getting in on a Q rating. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's why Barkley plays, even though he's a shit golfer, right?
So that is awesome.
So those guys make all the money for us to like compete.
Right.
So there's 25 golf spots. So that's what I had to qualify for.
How cool is that? So you're meeting all these dudes, and
dude, it's amazing. So I met Erlach. So I got invited 2014, and I turned it down because I had to work World Cup, and they were like, "Dude, no one's ever turned this down." I'm like,
"Yeah,
gotta work."
And
my job, yeah.
I don't have insurance.
Put me on the list as number one.
Exactly. Well, good. I'm one. I finally finished first at something. So basically, this is how freaking weird our sport is. For honestly 6 days in Tahoe, I probably had, this is being very like, listen, I exaggerate for a living, and it's a great living. This is dead serious. Everybody wanted to talk about Messi. Everyone wanted to talk about Inter Miami. And I'm telling you guys that have, like Dan, like people that have, all the Red Sox guys that I've known since 2004, all of them, they used to always bust my chops about the sport of soccer. Now all of a sudden it was like, no. Actually, so when they play in Leagues Cup or when they play in Champions League, or they like it was authentic, it was real. And so that's when I came back telling everybody that story, because for the last, I would say 12 months, it's crazy how many different people are now interested in the league that us three played in the sport that us three live with our eyes closed. Now all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, no. So what happens? Like Copa America is playing during the same time. So honestly, guys, that was the coolest part to it. I mean, when Jerry Rice is asking you about Lionel Messi, and about Inter Miami, or Brian Urlacher, who used to stuff me in a locker 15 years ago when he first met me. Now all of a sudden he's like, bro, did you see the Argentina game? Did you see Canada? Why is the United States so bad? Like, guys, that's kind of like where all three of us can kind of pinch ourselves and say, did we just make it?
That's pretty sick, dude.
I'm glad that you started with that story, because part of what I wanted to ask you, Taylor, you said something coming back fresh off the All-Star game. You're now you're a 5-time All-Star. You're an All-Star Game MVP. Now you're calling the game. You've seen an awful lot of it. You said something in your opening comments with Zivin that kind of struck me, and I wanted to get a little clarity from you, because you said that it was almost hard to believe what you were seeing. It was hard to believe when you think back to, where we started and where you were kind of a significant piece of this on the field and coming out of it. And I think your words were like, it's almost impossible to believe where we are right now. If I was to ask me back then, if I saw this now, I would say absolutely not. And it would be impossible to dream this. And now here we are with 30 teams and all the ownership and all the interest and everything. And I was thinking back, because that made me feel something. And I was like, man, I feel like I used to sit in locker rooms just like we all did and dream about this, right? Because we didn't do it for a massive paycheck. We did it because we loved the game and we saw the potential. And I wanted to ask you, do you really believe that? Do you really believe that we weren't going to get here? Is this like a genuine shock to you?
Complete shock. I remember when both of you came into Major League Soccer, and I know exactly the league you guys came into.
Yep.
I knew the league that I was an MVP, returning MVP, scratching, clawing, trying to play regularly on the national team, consistently called up. But that was where I made my money, because we weren't paid the way the players are paid now. But more so, Dan, I'm in Atlanta before a Leagues Cup game. And if you would have told me that All-Star game in 2005, that I would be in Atlanta where they 7 to 8 times a year get 70,000 people for a game, where they would have just sold 3 players, then another 4th to turn into $52.5 million of outgoing transfer money. Dan, listen, I would have said, this is the genuine response. I would have said, sure, but I don't think I would have been under the age of 60. And this is where I think your listeners are going to appreciate this. I remember specifically in my backyard, my grandfather played for the Yankees, the Tigers, the St. Louis Browns. And I remember when A-Rod signed his first deal for $250 million. And I was in my backyard with my grandfather, and he almost had a heart attack. Yeah. He almost had a heart attack, because this is the same guy that went to World War II while playing in Major League Baseball. This is the same guy that got traded 2 months before they won the World Series for the Yankees. He gets traded to the Tigers. Al Kaline gets called up. Mickey Mantle gets called up for the Yankees. He's now the out of the rotation, and immediately they win the World Series. 2 weeks later, he's working a newspaper gig in St. Louis. And I remember him looking at us. Guys, that is what, 67 years. Dan, the reason why I say that is, guys, we're 19 years removed from the 2005 MLS All-Star Game. Think of the league you guys came into making $12,000, $18,000, whatever it was, just to get on the roster to then get a chance. Chris Wondolowski, Jeff Larentowicz, what they play, over 350 games each individually, and they both came into the league. You guys know this. You lived it. So to sit here and say to me, Taylor, in 20 years, we're going to have 30 teams. We're going to be in Cincinnati, Austin, Atlanta, Charlotte, St. Louis, San Diego. The minimum salary is going to be over the median salary is going to be over 300 grand. We're going to have a reserve league. We're going to have players being sold for 20 million out of MLS. I would have said, no chance. You are out of your coconut. So, Dan, I think for all of us three on this, and for anyone that's listening that was part of that early MLS, if it's not a shock, then I want whatever drug you were on 19 years ago, because there was zero chance.
Coming into the league, I think quite a few of us were on some different things.
No comment.
Taylor,
Gordo, think about the league you played in. Well,
here's what shocks me. Okay, here's what's crazy about this whole thing. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I'm just going to say it, and I say stupid shit. I feel like Messi, it was the perfect storm. He is the perfect storm, but I feel like the growth of the league in between that time could not have been possible without 2 guys. David Beckham, I lived it, and he came and he went from people asking us, I was on Southwest C class with Albright, and Albright's bitching. Like constantly, we're on C class, doing this. We're sitting in the middle row And they're like, y'all a college team? We're like, nah, that we do this for a living. Like nobody knew who we were. And I mean, one guy asked us if we were like astronomers because we were the galaxy. It was like, are you an astronomer team? Like what?
We used to get whitewater rafting in Colorado for the rapids. It was bad, dude.
I mean, in fairness, Dan, Gordo always did kind of shoot for the stars. So
yeah,
he's an astronomer.
Every day of his life, man.
And so Beckham got us to there, right? And then he goes away and we start to kind of build. And then Messi comes and he's 2.0 and he sends us into the stratosphere, right? And I am with you, man. I mean, without those two guys, there's no way that we have the league that we have today. And I don't want to give them all the credit because there's a lot of credit with a lot of guys that made this league possible. But like you said, these guys 10, 15, 20 years ago and beyond hated soccer. They called us names that I won't say. Everyone was like, and now they're interested, and now they're pulling Taylor Twellman, the soccer guy, because they are interested. And not only that, they're investing in teams and they want in. They want in. So do you see this game jumping over some of the four major sports and how
it's a great question, Gordo. Gordo, it's honestly nothing you said is stupid, which is surprising because you just pontificated for 75 seconds. The go-to for us on the Revs flights.
Gordo. He just blacked out.
What do you see? What do you say? I just blacked out. Well, our line, because you guys knew our Revs team really well. Our line when we got onto those American Airlines flights was always, they would always ask us what we did. And I got the line and everyone took it, and Matt Reese took it to another level because he's brilliant. But we used to say we're a camp for kids, and you let it breathe and then say run by older kids, and they would laugh all the time because honestly, we looked like complete imbeciles.
Did you guys have to wear team prescribed gear?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. All right, just checking.
Because our team might have got lost in the airports if we didn't. But Gordo, what you're talking about is so interesting because us three lived the David Beckham mania, right? We all saw it, we lived it, and he transcended soccer. That's where his impact was it brought all of the eyeballs that loved David Beckham to our league. Now that league wasn't ready for the moment in the way that Messi's league was. Does that make any sense? Think of the stadiums where we were playing. Think of how the league was built and the rosters and listen, Gordo, you're 100% correct. If it's not for the blood, sweat, and tears of the domestic player rolling up their sleeves and believing in this, man, we might not be having this conversation either. On the other hand, if it wasn't for David Beckham, we also may not have this conversation. Yeah. We may not have the 20 soccer specific stadiums that we have now because David Beckham came here and then everyone kind of saw league going, whoa, there's so much room for growth. It's there. And there's still room for growth. That's the best part about Lionel Messi coming. I hate beating the drum of saying soccer's on the rise because I feel like my father said that in the NASL. We've said it, and now this next generation is. The fact is, the metrics have shown us that it is. Yeah. And the one number that surprised the hell out of me at ESPN was the 18 to 32-year-old male or female viewer. Soccer, the sport of soccer, was number 2 at ESPN in sales. Right behind the NFL or college football. They classify in sports, not leagues. Before the NBA, because of the 18 to 32-year-old. So now our generation, the guys I'm playing with, the celebrities in Tahoe, the owners, all of a sudden they're looking at where this is and they're saying, hang on a minute, I got to be part of the movement. 2018 MLS All-Star Game, for the listeners on this podcast, you can go back to Arthur Blank in the booth with me and Adrian Healy. And he blew my mind. Over 5,000 Atlanta Falcon season ticket holders turned in their season tickets for Atlanta United.
No way.
What? Wow. That's 2018. That's only 13 years after that All-Star Game in Columbus that we just referenced. Dan, Gordo, it's when big money people see it, believe it, and now all of a sudden put their money behind it. Now, if for any of those listening the owners, some of you guys will listen to anything we do. By the way, you could still put more money into this because I think this league tomorrow is so turnkey, they could blow Liga MX and make them second behind Major League Soccer, but they've got to go for it. They've got to go all in, and they know that. But guys, we are really at the precipice of this thing, Gordo, to put a bow on it, to really put a dent into Major League Baseball. And listen, they're always going to have the history, but they've got a 162 game season. There's a reason why there's a pitch clock. They got to get games under 2.5 hours. They're fighting everything because of soccer and the 18 to 32-year-old consumer that now all of a sudden is like, Dan, you know this better than anyone. You live in St. Louis. The Cardinals have their worst attendance in the last 37 years. I don't find it a coincidence that St. Louis City's in their second season.
Absolutely. And St. Louis City missing a big mark on not following up one of the most incredible inaugural years without, I think, a little bit more success in year two. Let me ask you a tough question, because you made a couple really good points there. Seeing the growth potential of this league and soccer, I think, is what has been driving all of this investment, all of these high net worth individuals, the different layer, I think, of professional athletes and their interests, right? These numbers are different. You're telling me soccer was number 2 at the time at ESPN.
Sales.
Where is ESPN? Why are they not invested like the rest of this, I think, tidal wave is?
COVID changed everything, dude. And so that's that number that I just gave you, because everyone was pleasantly surprised at how quickly the sport of soccer sold out sales. They were looking for sales elements in ESPN soccer shows that included, because all the naysayers are going to listen to this and say, no, that included Major League Soccer, and I can show you proof and whatever, but that's not the point. COVID changed sports TV, media, changed everything. So ESPN then has to look at it just like Turner is looking at the NBA right now.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. And so listen, I will never. Did ESPN believe in soccer and Major League Soccer the way they did the NFL and NBA? No, they did not. Right.
Understandable.
But you said that we wouldn't have believed it either.
No,
so it's not hard, right?
No, and then you could obviously, if you don't believe in it, Gordo, you can dissect those numbers. You can find any number you want. They could say, well, no, look at college football, look at the NFL. Well, technically, and quite frankly, the NBA is the biggest chaser to that. So whether you slice up the numbers, the point is the 18 to 30-year-old consumer was much faster, and the companies put their money faster before baseball and before hockey.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. Now, the NBA and NFL, guys, they're at a different stratosphere.
Yeah,
completely different stratosphere.
Never going to
honestly, exactly, Gordo, exactly. On the other hand, do you need to? And I'd argue you do not. Those are the 2 most expensive leagues in the world. The NBA TV deal is now worth more than the Premier League. So that's different. However, the NHL is a niche sport. It just is. And I'm a massive hockey guy. I love hockey. We'll watch the Blues and Bruins anytime. That's fine. But it's a certain clientele. Soccer's the most inclusive sport in the world and in our country. It is the cheapest to play. That's a different conversation, which we can get into. But point being is that the sales in all these companies, Dan, they want that consumer, and we're providing that for them.
Yeah. No, that's really great insight.
But again, ESPN not being there, it still hurts me a little bit, dude.
Yeah, you know? I mean, it has to. You're an ESPN alum, and I think obviously one of the most famous soccer faces and trusted voices, and you're coming from behind the curtain within ESPN as passionate sports and soccer fans that we are now. I think it's disappointing to still see, the leader of sports and entertainment in.
I think the 18 ESPN. World Cup killed us, Dan.
Being a little bit behind, and that there's so many variables. To your point, you can pick out numbers anywhere and kind of tell a narrative, tell a story. But I want to know the more important stuff. You're obviously coming off the All-Star Game, and that's evolved into much more of a gathering than just a game, right? How was the banter around the beers in the hotel lobby late night? How did we do? Because I wasn't able to be there. I'm on vacation at the beach, and Gordo can't leave. Gordo's got an ankle bracelet on, so he can't leave close proximity. So Come on,
too many schools in that area. They won't allow me over there.
Especially with that mustache.
Who's holding court?
It's interesting, dude. It still feels like the old times where it's the same people talking, and then it feels much different because it's 5 hotels, not 2. It's way more sponsors and big, you know what I mean, Gordo? Like we used to walk in one hotel and you saw the entire soccer community.
Right.
Now it's a group text. Hey, which hotel you at? Where are you guys going? You know, the MLS PA had a fantastic event at the Lincoln in Short North. I couldn't get there, but just seeing the list of people that did come, you know, that's where, Dan, this thing's evolved, right?
Yeah.
I'm really glad you used the word you used, because when we first played in these games, and I played the first ones against Chivas Guadalajara, then the second one was Fulham, and it just went to these European teams, it was a referendum on the league and us as players. It isn't now. Like, you don't walk into that locker room and Luciano Acosta and Cucho Hernandez and Diego Rossi's are worried about what the world thinks about them, how they play that game and this result. They're worried about not getting hurt, and 2, they kind of want to pull off something for the fans. That's it, right? When us 3 were playing, if you ever got to that game or talked about it, we had teammates, or if I played, like, you were like, we kind of got to take this serious, even if I had 7
Didn't have a choice.
vultures the night before. But the point being, yes, you didn't have a choice, Dan. Now this is more about a celebration of where we've come, where we're going. And listen, I'm sitting here now working for Apple TV, and I think you two are going to appreciate this, because we all remember the Zlatan Ibrahimovic debut, and it was one of the best moments in this league's history.
Unbelievable.
But what we don't understand, while we were just talking about ESPN and them leaving, is this. That was only seen in North America. There was not a single social media clip that could be seen outside of North America because of the rights. Just the fact that Apple TV is involved, Lionel Messi's opening goal in League's Cup against Cruz Azul, put the league on a map that, guys, we've never seen, just simply on social media, because there were no copyright laws. There was nothing. You see what I'm saying? So, like,
it was wild. Now, there was a scripted movie. His debut was a scripted movie. You couldn't have made that any better. Unbelievable.
That was a year ago. From today. And I still think, I remember going to the stadium going, what the hell are we doing? Like, League's Cup, we're stopping these 2 seasons. And now I see it and I'm like, oh my God. I didn't see that coming, but more so, I didn't see the magnitude of Apple TV, guys. That in and of itself, I've seen the metrics, the number of views, all that. Zlatan's was epic. And I'd argue better than Messi's Cruz Azul, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because he's Messi.
Because it's Messi and billions of people saw it.
Exactly.
So what do you see? What do you see in the future from Apple TV?
I see.
Like, what are you most excited about with what they can do? Obviously,
they're starting from ground zero.
Okay.
I'll answer that. I'll interrupt you and answer that right now.
No, that's
There is
good.
something really fun and energizing for me to see a movie documentary company, a marketing company, a hardware product company want to get into this, and they only want to get into things that they can grow. And that's the coolest part to me. When Eddie Q sold me, along with Major League Soccer, that they want to grow the thing. Well, now you're talking about a completely different animal versus just being a custodian and helping the thing move. Does that make any sense? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
That's they've never done sports TV, and now they're in it. They listen. They're into growing the thing. So, guys, it's a 10-year partnership. We're barely 18 months in. I have a feeling that year 3, they're going to have something planned. And I'm like, good, here we go. We're cooking with gas. But it's Apple. It's 2.8 billion devices that when they push one button, it says, go to Major League Soccer. Like, that's hard to fathom for me.
So, Taylor, when you say grow, I hope you mean culture. And because that's what I'm dying for.
Agreed.
And that's when I see us leapfrog other sports, like we were talking about. If we can come up with a cool culture that everybody can get on board with, and Apple can.
Gordo, when you say culture, what do you mean? What do you define culture for me?
So culture for me is like these things that Martino's doing. right?
Mm-hmm.
Martino is starting these movements, right? Of getting this, making soccer cool. Because like I kind of referenced before, soccer was not cool when we were young. My freshman year, none of my friends knew I played soccer. I was a baseball player. I used to go hide my soccer bag behind the front desk because in California, in my school, it was just they hated soccer players. So I would hide it and I would sneak to go to practice. And I remember the day they found out, they all made fun of me. They were sitting on the hill and they were laughing at me when they were seeing me run around the field. And then I was devastated. And then I went to Arizona and it was cool there. But anyway, I want a culture like that grown-ups can go to a place and share this lovely game. Kind of like I feel like football has their culture. They have that's kind of, I'm not really articulating it well.
No, what you're trying to say is what college football culture is with the alumni and years and generations. And the reason why I use that, Gordo, it just takes time. It does. Because the only thing I'll say is we need your kids to have kids because Gordo's kids lived and breathed MLS. So did Dan Gargan's kids. And there are generations now. And
they'll be the custodians.
Bingo. And that's the most important thing. It only takes time. Think about the league us three played in. We weren't worried about culture. We were worried about the league standing up next year. We were worried about paying our bills. We were worried about the options being picked up. This is different. There is a fan culture. There are supporter groups. Yeah. It is cool to go. It's really only in Southeast United States when I'm on a golf course where I still get a weird reaction that Dan Gargan, Alan Gordon, and Taylor Twellman got when we were growing up. I don't really get that anywhere else. The Premier League has helped with that cool part. So Gordo, that's where I just think it takes time. I really do.
Gordo, I'm also hold on one sec, guys. I'm also talking about, I think you guys on the broadcast on Apple means almost everything for culture, for soccer culture. And the way that it's broadcasted out and having a relaxed feel, because you look at Barkley and what they do, they are the best watch. I mean, it's almost must-see
but
TV.
No one will ever beat Charles Barkley.
They won't, but
he's one in a million.
They were the first ones to be like, let's just let him talk. Let's just put the tie down a little bit and just be relaxed. And that's what I like to see. And like, I think Apple's starting to do it with these groups, with Sacha, with, BWP, all these guys, and just making it just more relaxed and something that is not so structured. It's like, have a little fun on TV, say some jokes, like stuff like that we can all relate to. Am I making sense there?
No, that's it. No, of course you are, dude. Absolutely. I think there's a fine line if we're trying to grow it. Here's my rebuttal, but that's the wrong word. Here's what I would add to what you're saying. I think the fan will respect the sport more when we are ourselves.
Yeah,
what I mean by that is it's okay to dive into the weeds and talk tactics. It's okay to use lingo that the fan doesn't know. I love hockey. I didn't play hockey, but I love listening to hockey guys be hockey guys and talk about the sport in their manner. I think for a long time, Gordo, when you and I were growing up along with Dan, I feel like when we turned soccer on, we tried to dumb it down. And I think broadcasters have learned, let's not do that. Now, Barkley, Shaq, Kenny Smith, and Ernie, guys, that will never be replicated. I don't care who anyone tries to. And that includes Kate Abdo, Thierry Henry, Jamie Carragher. They're not that fun. They're not them. They try to be them. They're good. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Barkley and Shaq. Shaq has marbles in his mouth, and he's brilliant at TV.
Yeah. He is. They are. They've had a camera in front of their face for so long, and they've had to be, they've also had to be, had to shield themselves for a long time to now they just don't. And they just are so open and carefree.
You guys want a quick Barkley story?
Yeah, absolutely. Give it to us.
Okay. Every 3 months I get a text. Why do the US men suck? I'm like, Chuck, what do you want me to do about it?
Dude, it's fair.
And it's amazing though. It's so good. Straight to the point.
Dude, Taylor, you put yourself on this text string, right? Like you anointed yourself as the guy that that has coined the phrase, "What are we doing?" I did want to ask you this because that clip needs to be put in the Louvre at some point. But do you still feel the same way? Because I still somewhat feel that emotion today. And I wanted to ask you, do you feel that emotion?
Yes. First off, Dan, you know me well enough. So does Gordo. The fact that I didn't say the F word in that rant is
unbelievable. Yeah, you held on.
Whoa, boy. Because like my mom texted me right away. Is like, I have no idea how the F word did not come out of your mouth, considering it comes out of my mouth every 4 or 5 words. Dan, great question. I still feel that emotion, and I don't know.
I know it's different, right? It's different.
Yes,
we've evolved, but the emotion is still there.
Yes. And it's still a different version of that, but it's still there. It still exists.
We've been there for a while.
Yes, Gordo, but I will tell you this, and listen, any of these, the younger generation and the fan or the players, whatever, you're going to listen to this and you can tell me to shut the hell up. I don't care. I don't think our generation would have lost to Panama.
So we've been back and forth on this, Taylor, and we were talking a lot about the sand and the grit that we had because of the adversity, and I think that's missing in our player pool right now. And I think we came to the exact same conclusion. We came to the conclusion that these
tie
guys,
that game at the minimum. We tie that game, Dan.
I agree. It's a different and maybe we don't get some of the results that maybe some of these guys get in in European soil, or maybe we do. Who knows? But I can almost guarantee you. Obviously, we weren't there, but that the other generation, the previous generation, would have found a way to grind that result.
And the one before me and the one before me as well. I agree with you. I think we've lost our way. What really, God, man, it's such a good question because I could talk about this for hours. I will say this. Being in that building when Tim Howard had to make a World Cup record 15, 16 saves against Belgium, and if Wando scores, they win, and then they end up playing Argentina on July 4th, and that is, if that happens, that's the biggest day in U.S. men's soccer history against Messi in the Brazilian World Cup. But I remember that day, and I remember it's 4 a.m. in Sao Paulo, and I can't sleep, and I'm just looking because I want to judge the barometer of the American fan. And the amount of people that were sick and disgusted with the fact that we defended for our lives, looked for the counter, we should try to be expansive, we should be better with the ball, all the stuff that us three on this podcast right now want to say, no shit. No shit, we want to do that. However,
they're one of the best teams in the world.
Gordo, exactly.
Win.
Bingo. However, you tell me tomorrow the only way to win the game is tie your left arm behind your back, or, as I did, tape your left wrist for a wrist that wasn't injured so you could play. You see what I'm saying? You do whatever you can to win. All of a sudden, we think we can play with them? We think we can do that? And I'm going to say something that a lot of people have not said. Pulisic plays regularly in Europe. Weston McKennie regularly, and Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, Balogun. How many other ones are?
Dude, so what we were talking about this, we were going back and forth on Gio Reyna and whether he should find another European club or just come back here. And
I don't think he should be called into camp.
Well, that's where Gordo's at. I disagree. And here's let's dive into this while we're here. I think he's a special talent, but I also think that he needs games. And I mean, a special talent by could be generational, is the only one that can do certain things in that pool that can do the things that he does. So it's tough for me to say, okay, you got to pull him out completely or not bring him in. I know that I agree with where Gordo is going to go, which is he's still has so much development as a young man, as a player in the locker room, all those things. Agree completely. Could probably get knocked down a couple pegs from a humility standpoint.
He has, by the way. He has by the players, but our former coach wanted to make it a bigger deal. Carry on, Dan. Sorry.
The point being, bring them back in here. Is it more valuable to bring them back in here, raise their level, and send them back out again after the World Cup?
If I was Atlanta United right now, I'm doing a 1-year loan for Giovanni Reyna right now, and see how he plays.
I don't mind that. The one thing, the reason, and he is a good talent, and can our team use him? Yes, but we this is the problem with that team. I feel like everybody's too comfortable. Everybody knows that Greg's going to call him in because this is the team, and it's
not going to be Greg anymore.
Well, not anymore. But that's one of the problems. I thought people were too comfortable. You have to rock the boat, dude. Especially with young talent. You're not coming in. Light a fire under their ass. So when they come back to the team, they are giving their blood, sweat, and tears every time they step on. And their performances are so up and down. Sometimes
they were, but to give Greg a little bit of credit, because we don't give him a ton of credit, he did bench Gio. I mean, he did do that, which I think in the World Cup, the expectation was that Gio was going to find a spot on the field, which I'm sure was his expectation and everybody else's.
But Dan, here's my rebuttal. Do it before that.
The whole also point fair. That's fair.
In my opinion, I don't give a flying F what you do during the 30 days of the World Cup because we just wasted 4 years to get to that point. So if you want to be drunk, but you're going to score 7 goals in the game, I don't care for the World Cup. Here's my issue. We do it there? We do it there?
There? Yeah. What?
No, Clint Mathis is the greatest example. Oh, dude, you two are going to know what I'm going to. You ride the heater. It doesn't matter where the heater is.
Totally.
Yes.
You ride it. Dan, you are 100% correct. You called Gio in for Copa America. Why? Because you got to get him out of Dortmund. So if you don't call him for Copa America, fine. But leading into Copa America, I'm not calling him in. You're not playing, bro.
Yeah.
You're not playing.
Listen, I think that was ultimately Greg's, I think, downfall was that he wasn't making the tough decisions in the time that they maybe needed to be made. It seems like he's sat on those decisions for way too long. Sat on them, right?
Before the World Cup, you're like, oh, whoa. I just did all the World Cup qualifiers. He played almost every game.
Yep.
Holy cow, guys. So listen, but you can dissect anything you want. Gordo, you're 100% correct. This team's way too comfortable. And the reason why I brought up the Panama, for all you listeners that are going to come at me, it has nothing to do about talking about when I played or when the grass is greener on the other side. No. I'm trying to bring up a point. That 2014 World Cup, to put a bow on it, guys, we turned this conversation into to play with Colombia, Argentina, Brazil's of the world, Belgium's. We're going to be expansive and play. Well, okay, sure. We can't lose who we are. And who we are a bunch of MFers that will run through a wall to be red, white, and blue. And I don't see that. And Dan, I'm going to tell you something that a lot of your listeners are going to lose their minds. Your generation wasn't given the same eyeballs that Pulisic, McKennie, Tyler Adams, and Timothy Weah are getting. So I don't know definitively if your generation, Gordo's generation, my generation wouldn't have been playing regularly in Europe.
That's fair because we're not that far removed. I think that's a great point, Taylor.
We are not.
No, we're really not. But
Landon Donovan was Christian Pulisic, and I was the first American to win the bronze boot at an under-20s, and we were stuck in the third division, leading their respective teams because in 1999 to 2002, they looked at the Americans like we were foreigners, and we were complete foreigners, except for goalies and one player, Steve Cherundolo.
They didn't know what to do with us.
They didn't. They didn't because they're like, oh, you should be kicking for the football team or playing shortstop. And I'm like, shut up, I'm here. You just signed me. Like you just literally gave me a ton of money to leave Maryland and you want to tell me I can't? But then Steve Cherundolo went to Hanover. And then all of a sudden I was like, whoa. Steve played reserves for like 2 months and then boom. Played 18, however many years.
In a position that is probably emblematic of the American player, too, and a willingness to bust his ass, grind, and be that MFer at the outside back and have a little talent going forward. Says the right back.
Don't just say that you were right back.
Yes, that's right. The modern day number 10. Taylor, do you have any
position on the field? I tell you that right now.
Do you have any idea what they're going to do? You have a feeling of what U.S. will do?
I do.
Where are we going?
I think it's going to be a European foreigner for an 18 to 20 month contract to get through the World Cup. If it's Gareth Southgate, I think it will be longer than that. But Gareth Southgate, you got to remember two things. Matt Crocker and him, best of mates. But but he wants the Manchester United job. And that is publicly known, but not as much as it really is known. So it turns into, what is it? I know Patrick Vieira would be very interested in the gig, would love the gig, but Patrick Vieira is an interesting one. I know what Patrick Vieira did to Frank Lampard, David Villa, and Andrea Pirlo when he walked in the locker room. If there's a World Cup winner that can do it, fine. Do I understand Stu Holden and others that are questioning the managing? Absolutely. That's what you're supposed to do. Nice, Crystal Palace wasn't great. But then again, my rebuttal to that is, well, who's done well at Crystal Palace or Nice with that roster? Patrick Vieira seems like a manager that would thrive. But then again, we could argue United States men's national team is the Crystal Palace of the world stage. So it may be a fair argument. I don't think it will be Steve Cherundolo unless everyone else says no. I want Steve Cherundolo to be the best manager he can be at the time he gets the U.S. men's national team job. And I think that's not now. I think Steve will be tempted by it. He wants it. You can never turn it down. But Steve's got the mindset, the profile, the pedigree. He's tapping into some big personalities with LAFC and getting them to play well. But guys, this is a craft. One of my best friends is Pat Noonan. And Pat, I am so proud of, because he took a job as a third assistant, second assistant, first assistant, and now he's got the head job. And everybody goes, I can't believe how well Pat Noonan's doing. Well, then I'm like, well, he put 9 years in. When us three were playing,
this wasn't an overnight thing.
Exactly. When us three were playing,
me and Dan's coach.
Exactly. Think about it. But when us three were playing, Jason Kreis, Ben Olsen, Jay Heaps, they retired and got head coaching jobs. It's unfair to judge someone that's trying to grow into that. Pat Noonan's grown into it. Jim Curtin's grown into it. Steve Cherundolo, I'm telling you, will be a very good U.S. men's national team head coach someday. I just want it to be the best time for him, and I don't think right now is. I just don't.
So he's the U.S. heir apparent that was maybe Jesse Marsch prior to that going completely sideways.
Oh, hold on, guys. There's a drone over my room. Too soon? Hi, Jesse. Oh, come on. That's wrong. I was just kidding, guys. It's just a joke.
It's not a joke. It's actually accurate.
I can't believe this is going on with Canada, by the way.
Can you believe I saw the news today about the CEO, I forget what his name is, coming out and basically outing himself and everything that they've done over the past few years. What did that make you feel when you read that? Were you pissed that it was happening, or were you flabbergasted that he was actually putting this out on the front page today?
It's different if they were the Astros and were actually winning something. They haven't won anything. It's kind of laughable.
That's also hold on, Gordo. That's not true because
you're still not winning. You're cheating.
They won the gold medal.
Winning.
The women's team won the gold medal. That this is all about. This is from this goes back, and he basically said, "Hey,
Gordo,
by the way,
Gordo, Dan's right.
That's true.
By the way,
I wasn't talking about the women. I wasn't talking about
Tokyo. Now he basically is going to strip them of a gold medal in Tokyo.
I don't think they strip it, and that's why I think Kevin Blue, the name you were looking for, I think Kevin Blue brought it out, Dan, because I think he's trying. First off, the players that they know nothing of this. They know nothing of this, and quite honestly, there's two ways to look at it. First off, I don't think Jesse Marsch was part of this. I don't. I just knowing Jesse the way I do, I don't know. But was he? I
would tend to agree with you.
Yeah. What's interesting to me though is Marcelo Bielsa was caught doing this. He got one game. No one talked about it. My initial reaction is, why are you trying to cover this up? If it happened, great. Raise your hand. The world has already shown, for some reason, spying on other trainings isn't like Spygate. They didn't kick Bill Belichick out for his.
No,
they didn't.
No, they lost a shit ton of money and a draft pick. Sure. But you follow where I'm going. My first reaction, Dan, to answer your question is, guys, really, we're doing this? But then I'm thinking, like, well, hold on. Bielsa did it with Leeds, and what did he get, a game? Like, just own up to it and move on.
Right.
But now John Herdman's coming out with inflammatory statements defending it. I'm like, oh my God.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, the more you dig the hole, it's going to be way worse.
This guy is just going like this. Let me jump in our hole, but we're already, it didn't really make a lot of sense. To your point, So we got to tell this story because Gordo and I both were involved in this. In 2014, we are with the Galaxy and we go up to Seattle for the second leg of the Western Conference Championship game. You remember this, Taylor?
I was doing the game.
Dude, so we're in for a walkthrough and our second kit man notices somebody up in the super box with binoculars on, and he starts
because they text me, Dan. They text me and Adrian Healy.
Is that
and
you
we're
guys?
Like, yeah, and we're like, no, we're over on the other side.
Right.
You can see us,
dude. So the whispers start to go through the staff. And the whispers are all like, "Hey, there's somebody on binoculars. Don't look, don't look, don't look." It's almost like how people talk now. We were doing that previously when we didn't think that we were being taped for anything. So the whole thing goes around. Bruce runs the session. Bruce obviously knows and runs the session with nothing going on. But we didn't end up even doing anything outside of openly mocking them in our championship photos where we all have binoculars on in the photo, in holding the trophy up. Everybody's got binoculars on. But it got swept. It got completely passed on. Yeah. And it wasn't a thing. I was shocked that Kevin
Bruce
Blue
didn't make it a thing.
He didn't make it a thing. You're right. You're right. He did not. I don't know what the league would have done, but it almost seemed like this has always been a part of the game. Sports. It's a part of sports. Like you're trying to look for these little marginal edges, like flying a drone over someone else's
here's the thing,
pre-game walkthrough.
Here's where a spy's different than video footage.
Yeah,
that's true.
Bill Belichick and what he did with the St. Louis Rams with Mike Martz and That Greatest Show on Turf, taping it. The drone is a little weird versus spy. Sacramento Republic, Orlando City in the Open Cup final. What was it, 2022? Yeah. Remember the story came out that there was someone sitting in Orlando City had someone in a tree because they were training at a public park. And the report comes, and everyone's like, oh, we're not cheating.
Funny.
And I'm like, well, one, why are they training at a park? Oh, it's because you told them they couldn't use your facilities, so they went to the park. And then when they show up at the park, you got a tree house and 7 cameras sitting in the tree. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
if you don't use our facilities, there's a nice park.
You kind of have to tip your cap to them too, don't you? I mean, well, all right.
By the way, it's brilliant. It's so brilliant.
It's so good.
But you hit the nail on the head. That's my ultimate definitive thing is it's part of our culture. However, if you're going to dig your hole deeper and defend it, I think the penalty's got to be worse. I just do. And I hope the medals aren't taken away. I would seriously doubt they are because I don't think the players knew anything about it. But what does this mean if it's real serious and they're hosting the World Cup in 2026? Does that become part of this? Because you can't punish them in World Cup qualifying because they don't have any. Like, I don't know where this goes. I'm just stunned Kevin Blue was so transparent. And then I'm starting to think, I guarantee you the lawyers said, we got to go out and do this now. But then John Herdman doesn't help. No. He does not help by doing what he did today.
It was interesting. I thought that this was going to be this is an embarrassing moment for Canada. We'll move on. And now it's going to be a massive story that I think we haven't scratched the surface on. I think it's going to be a big piece. It's going to be talked about through the Olympics because the Canadian women's team has to be a favorite. It just is. I found it wild. I found it wild that they were so open about where they were at in this time. Let me get you out of here. We got a couple things. What are the names you're hearing for some of these MLS coaching vacancies? We know you're just sitting in the 5 hotel lobbies, and there's got to be scoop time and some names that are bantered around. Are you hearing anything that seems to be catching a little bit more heat than others?
Patrick Vieira, if he doesn't take the U.S. job or has offered it, there's some big jobs. Look, I'm in Atlanta. Atlanta's going to go big or go home.
Totally. Yep.
So I think Atlanta becomes interesting. I find it you guys have been living this league as long as I have. I'm a little surprised some of the jobs haven't been filled, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Greg Berhalter's another name.
You think he would jump right back in? Or you think he needs,
I think he's a junkie. And part of the reason why I like him is he wants to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Now he will
incredible success too. I mean, he was fantastic in what he built with Columbus.
I agree, but if you look at the numbers, he's a 500 coach.
Everybody is in the MLS.
Fair. But Greg Vanny's not, though.
His record is
Greg Vanny's not.
53, 52, and 69.
Who's that? Who is that?
Everyone. There's a little bit more ties than everything else.
Just a little bit longer.
I like Dome Torrent being in Liga MX is a surprise because he's been really wanting to get back into Major League Soccer, but it didn't end great with New York City. There was some PR stuff. You know, it was actually in this building when they lost it. He berated some reporters. So honestly, Dan, it's interesting that some of the jobs haven't been filled, but the two names I keep hearing are Vieira and Greg Berhalter.
Does Bruce coach again in the league?
I don't know if he does, man. I really don't. I don't know. I feel for him because that's not the way that career should end. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, what is he, 72? So I hope for him he finds closure as a dad, as a grandpa, as a husband, as a coach that did a lot of good things in his career. But I don't know. There's a part of me that says that door will always be open, but then there's a part of me that says I don't know.
I don't know if I'm a president of a club or an owner of a club. I don't know if I'm bringing Bruce back in as a coach, but if I'm building an organization or if I'm starting, and kind of turning the page and turning it all over, I'd bring Bruce in to be my sporting director for 2 or 3 years and give him a final out and let him build something to go out on the right.
That's such a hard job now, though. That job is not what you and I thought it was.
But Taylor, think about what Bruce was doing, man. He was the pioneer of head coach and GM.
Yeah, but my rebuttal to you, Dan, is every single person that's doing that role right now is not in the playoffs.
Oh, I don't believe that's what I'm saying. I don't believe that's a path to success anymore. I'm just saying take the coaching out of it.
I think a consultant, I'd consult him in 2 seconds.
Bring him in to do some type of build. This is the way it should be run.
You could get me to convince that, but seeing what some of our former teammates are doing in some of these assistant sporting director roles, I'm like, oh boy.
It is all day long, every day.
It's a lot, and you got to be organized and everything. And I don't know if Bruce wants to do that, but I don't know, man. It's a great question.
All right. Well, you're on Major League Journeymen, and we know that you weren't a journeyman. However, you've been with a couple organizations now. Now you're with Apple TV. We're going to ask you the tough questions. All right. These are the last two. Start, bench, or cut, and we'll give you the layup first.
I like the other version of this game. Can we do an R-rated version?
No, we're trying to listen. We're on Apple, dude. We're trying to appeal to the masses. Okay, quit trying to stick us in an NC-17 box. We will start with your Apple squad. Start, bench, or cut. Sacha, BWP, Kevin Egan.
Kevin Egan, I would cut just because that accent, I can't buy
that was easy. See you later.
Yeah, see ya. I would start Sacha just because I've never seen a mustache as good as that. Gordo, you're trying to get there. It's not. BWP, I would bench because I've seen him kind of grow into this. Like, he's only good attention-wise for like 15 minutes, and then he's gone. He's got ADD. He's out. But make no mistake about it, I'm cutting Kevin Egan. Dude, I get it. You're Irish, all that. You've been in America for 27 years.
Taylor, I take offense to that. Do you know how many autographs I signed as Sacha at TST? I am not. You think I'm joking? I am not joking. Hey, when he got into that,
first off, you're exponentially better looking with that mustache than him.
That's what I thought. Oh my God. That's what I thought. Dude, I was Sacha. I lived a full day as Sacha right after he did the crying baby Denani. I had people coming up to me like, dude, you handled that so well. And I was just buying into it. They're like, can you sign my kid's jersey? I talked to the head coach.
Dude, Sacha looks like Balky from Perfect Strangers. What are you talking about?
Balky Butakamoose? I'm sure he loves that comparison. All right, here's the tough one for you. Start, bench, cut. Shalrie, Steve Ralston, Clint Dempsey.
Ooh, wow. That's really good.
This is where it gets hard.
No, it doesn't. Start Steve Ralston. He was my roommate for the entire time I cannot believe his oldest daughter just graduated college and I changed her first diaper. That's how far back we go. Bench Shalrie Joseph, because Shalrie looked at me at one point and said, "You suck, you're terrible." And he was my teammate.
That was also common vocabulary around that group. You guys were a different layer, man. It was so fun.
We were different. And then I would cut Clint just because Clint knows when he freestyled as a rookie in my car, I had never experienced anything of the sort. And I looked back at him because I was an asshole to any first-year player. And I looked at him and I said, "Don't ever do that again."
That's beautiful, Taylor.
And by the way, it was "Don't Tread on Me." And then it came out when we were teammates with the national team, and I'm like singing the song, and he would look at me all the time going, "Oh yeah, you told me not to freestyle." I'm like,
nah, it still wasn't good, dude. It was not good when it was released or when it was workshopped in the back of your car.
Dude, that was a good. That was good. That was good.
You're an icon, dude.
My first U.S. call up, I get on the bus, I sit next to Clint, and I don't know him. He goes, "Do you flow?" I was like, nah.
Oh my God. Taylor Twellman, we appreciate your time, man. No, you're in a million different places right now. Keep up the great work. You've been on it for a long time. You are, I think, from somebody that's been in the industry, you're perfecting the craft, man. And it's awesome to see. Wish you the best. Keep doing the things and keep building the culture. Like Gordo says, you got a story to tell, which has been,
this was awesome,
it's been
dude.
admirable, dude. So,
this was awesome. I just am a little disappointed, and I'm going to leave a message. Dax, where are you, buddy?
Dude,
where are you, Dax? Leagues.
How badly did Dax want to be on this podcast?
Oh, he's so pissed. He's so pissed
tell me
he's
to
missing
F
it right
off.
But it was so much better without him, so we're happy.
It usually is. Nah, we love you, Dax.
When I see him at the game tonight, I'm going to say, "Dude, the Journeyman, it was amazing. It was so comfortable."
They offered me a job.
Nobody traded jerseys.
Tell him we offered you his job.
Real quick, because I missed the episode. Did you guys agree with Dax posting the picture of the Messi jersey or not?
No, we did not agree with that.
Awesome.
Good.
Not okay.
He got really butthurt.
No, and he's still fighting it. He's still defending himself.
Justifying.
Which, by the way, I'm going to leave it with this. I kind of respect it. Just stay with it, dude. Like, you're going up each level if you hold on to that with me. Anything out of spite, you kind of get my attention a little bit more than not.
The Triple D. All right, Major League Journeyman, we're out of here. Catch us wherever you tune into your podcasts, or on YouTube or Instagram or all the other stuff. Taylor, thanks, buddy. We'll catch you.
See you, boys.